Hello, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Karen Jacob, and I'm here with my colleague Yolanda Calvo. We're teachers at the University of the Balearic Islands, and we're here to present Anchor. Is it a useful tool for enhancing students' oral communication proficiency? First of all, we'd just like to say thank you to the Institut de Recerca y Innovación Educativa, who have funded this research for us. Okay, so um, uh, what is important is we need to expose our ESP students to authentic life situations that they'll most likely face in their professional lives. So obviously, uh, students need to have this specific vocabulary depending on what they're going to be working in. Okay, so we need to teach these students useful vocabulary and most of all, authentic vocabulary. And we'd like to exploit different opportunities that ICT does offer us to help our students with this. Okay, it's also important, obviously, to decide which skills and language areas we need to focus on, depending again on the student's specific needs. Now, we ourselves are looking at students, ESP students within the tourism and hotel management degrees, and so we're going to be trying to give them specific vocabulary that's related to tourism and business, and try to help them with their spoken production and interaction, which is a big part of their degree course. Okay. So the aim is to combine tourism and hotel management ESP students' needs, specifically in the vocabulary and speaking areas, with the opportunities that ICTs offer them. Now, this is important because employers within this area, within tourism and business, do value obviously a knowledge of English and other foreign languages, and they also need to show that they have a strong digital competence. So the solution for us was to try to use instant messaging tools and social networks in the English for specific purposes classroom. Okay, so we know that our students use these resources on a daily basis to communicate with their relatives, their friends, but in their native languages, which in our case could be Spanish or Mallorcan, Catalan. But we want to try to motivate them to do the same, but in English. So the tool that we have chosen for our research is Anchor. And if you want a little more information on how this works, you can see it in our other video, which is using Anchor and Flipgrid to provide opportunities for students in ESL speaking practice. So the context, we've carried this out within 4 different subjects, 3 of which are in the degree of tourism, so English 1, English 2, and English 3, and then English 1 in the degree of hotel management. Now, obviously concentrating on the types of exams they're going to have, speaking exams, which could be videos and simulations, it could be just an oral exam, promotional presentation, business meeting, role playing. Okay, so these are the types of speaking activities that they have to do. Now, our objectives here, our general objective is basically to encourage our students to practice their spoken production and their interactional skills in English outside the classroom by using this instant messaging tool, Anchor. More specifically, we want to offer them these opportunities to speak English outside the classroom whilst using the specific vocabulary that they have actually learnt in class. We then want to analyze the specific vocabulary used in each task, which is by podcasts that they will be creating from different linguistic perspectives. So obviously the grammatical, lexical, and phonological perspective. And then identify the most productive mistakes. Once we've done this, we are hoping that we'll be able to improve students' pronunciation at segmental and supra-segmental level. How are we going to do this? We're going to give them constant feedback both individual, in groups, and as a class. Okay, so indirect objectives would be that they get to learn how to use the tool Anchor, in this case, to create and edit podcasts. They're going to be working as a team, which again is very important within tourism, for example. And they're also going to learn how to objectively assess tasks that were created by their classmates. So the methodology that we've used for this was two groups of 3 to 5. And then depending on the subject, there were between 2 and 5 different tasks. So we started off by introducing a new vocabulary, obviously giving them very specific instructions on how to do the task. The students then recorded their podcast and the teacher gave them the feedback. Okay, with all the different types of mistakes. do. And then they would have a week in which they could re-record and make any of these necessary changes according to the suggestions made by the team. Okay. At the beginning, the teacher would make a list of about 100, 120 important words, expressions, etc., as well as creating the guidelines for the tasks. And then we had a couple of pre-tests with this vocabulary. So a vocabulary task and a speaking task, contains distractors. Explain to the students after they wanted to participate, and then the students formed and created their accounts. Okay, they then had to create their podcast. They then got the feedback from the teachers, and then they had to do their final version of their podcast. Okay, so they were then given the post-test, which is exactly the same as the pre-test, and then we compared the results obtained over the different subjects, okay, as well as their actual opinion on a survey of what they thought of Anchor itself. So quick information on the pre-test, basically the reading exercise were 15 sentences to read out loud, which they could do on Flipgrid. 10 sentences related to the actual subject distractors, and then we could to test vocabulary again, 15 related to the subject and 5 to the with distractors. So
Yeah.
now pass on to the actual use of
Yeah. So thank you, Karen. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is to explain, to give you an example of how we implemented this project. And so I'm going to be focusing on the subject English 3, which is in the degree of tourism. So at the end of this subject, the students have to hand in the recording of a business meeting in groups, and this video is quite extensive in length, so it has to be approximately 20-25 minutes. And normally the students record the video and hand it in at the end of the semester. However, with this project, my aim is to offer them a more continuous type of assessment and giving them the chance to pre-record some of the scenes and receive feedback in order to improve their English and record a better video at the end. In this project, each of the students performs a different role. So we have the chairperson, the secretary, and then representatives from the marketing, the development, and the administration department. So here we have the list of the most important scenes that the students are required to include in their videos, and those that are in bold type would be the ones that I allow them to practice before handing in the final product. So we have a preliminary arrangements, the small talk before the meeting, opening the meeting. So this is mainly the chairperson speaking in this case. The theme proposal and talking about direct competitors within the field, the part in which they have to negotiate prices with a supplier, and finally the AOB, so the any other business part at the end of the meeting. So in this study, I have 22 participants. As I mentioned before, they are enrolled in English 3 within the degree of tourism. 8 of them are males and 16 are females. They're all bilingual speakers of Spanish and Catalan, the Mallorcan variety. And on this occasion, they formed 2 groups of 5 people, and the remaining 12 were divided by 3 groups of 4. Now I'm just going to give you some preliminary results focusing on pronunciation, okay, because we are still, as I will mention in a minute, we are still working on this. So out of these 6 mini podcasts that I created, we found 137 pronunciation mistakes made. Quite a few of them, as you can see there, were made on tourism and business related words. So in other words, important items for these students in their daily professional and personal lives, such as Paris, details, tourism, hotel, island, euros, cathedral, or supplier or budget. Out of these 137 problems, 51 were involved a problem with a vowel, such as in hotel or company, so pronouncing company as company instead of, so the short O sound instead of the inverted U. 38 problems with consonants, for instance in island, pronouncing island as Iceland or region as región. as they would in Spanish. And then finally, 49 problems with word stress patterns. So email, stressing it on the second syllable, so saying email, or hotel, stressing it on the first syllable and saying hotel instead of hotel. And then what we did was to further classify these mistakes and to analyze how many of them can be explained by a negative interference or influence of Spanish onto the pronunciation of English. So in other words, transfer or cross-linguistic interference. And we found that 105 of the mistakes that we initially found could be explained by these phenomena. So 49 of these mistakes would be due to a phonological transfer. So for instance, the fact that they were not capable of saying 27 with this consonant cluster in final position, and this of course is because in Spanish we do not have this type of consonantal combinations, and especially at the end of a syllable, or the fact that Paris, they stressed it on the second syllable because in Spanish we say Paris and it is stressed on the second syllable. And the remaining 56 were an orthographic interference because in Spanish it has a transparent correspondence between pronunciation and spelling, and so whatever word has an O in the orthographic form is always pronounced as O, whereas in English we know this is not the case. So for instance, hotel, pronouncing it as hotel, or discuss as discourse. And so things that we are currently doing, so in progress or future research, and hopefully when we hand in the final article for this presentation, we will have already finished this data. So we're looking at the final videos and comparing whether the students have actually overcome these pronunciation problems in the video. So up to now, out of these 130 something mistakes, we've checked 74 of them, and out of these 74, 64 of them they have. So in the podcast, we gave them the feedback, and then they correctly pronounce it in the final videos, whereas in 10 of them, they continue to pronounce certain words incorrectly. We're also looking at what sounds do they use instead of the correct one. So for instance, when they mispronounce the diphthong O, we're looking at what sounds they use instead of this one. Also, have new pronunciation problems appeared in the final video that were not present in the podcast? Okay, so this is sometimes is difficult to control because although they have pre-prepared a script when they are recording the final video, of course they haven't memorized everything and they can't read the information, so maybe they're using some linking words that they did not use in the previous one, or some different vocabulary that did not use in the podcast. And also, most importantly, we're looking at whether we should consider all of these mistakes as serious. And by this, I have some examples. So we believe that the fact of pronouncing hotel as hotel or customer as customer is a lot more serious than pronouncing honest as honest or register as register. Placing the stress on the second syllable, whereas it should not be done in English. And so very quickly, some conclusions. So creating podcasts, we believe, is a good way of getting students to practice their spoken skills while also putting into practice specific vocabulary. Continuous feedback helps them improve, and we have seen that they have overcome most of the problems in the video. Tourism, students incorrectly pronounce specific and important words for them related to their field of expertise, and of course this would give a bad impression to future employers and clients. And we believe that some mistakes should not be considered as serious as others because they will most likely not affect intelligibility, and so in the future we will have to study this intelligibility factor a little more in more depth. So this is all on our behalf. Thank you very much for your attention, and here you have our email addresses, and any questions, comments, doubts that you may have, please get in contact with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.